Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County Forum for candidates for Lake Stevens Council positions 1 and 2. I'm Karen Madsen, a member of the League. Thank you all for joining us. Let me provide some background on this particular position. The City Council is the legislative body of city government that establishes city policy and provides a framework for city administration to respond to community needs. Council members manage basic public services, including sewer, water, fire, police, roads, parks, etc. They establish and enforce local laws affecting individuals and businesses, including local taxes. They control how land can be used, and they provide direction to the mayor. Candidates do not declare a political party preference. Candidates for Lake Stevens City Council position 1 are Sabina Araya and Kim Daughtry. Candidates for Lake Stevens City Council position 2 are Brian McManus and Gary Petershagen. Sabina Araya is not joining us today. It's the policy of the League to be nonpartisan. Therefore, we neither endorse nor oppose candidates or parties. The rules for participation in this forum were set ahead of time to all candidates, and they have all agreed to follow them. I will pose the questions. I will clearly state the amount of time allowed for each answer. We're using a countdown timer, which is visible to all candidates, and time limits on answers will be strictly enforced. The order for responses to the first question, determined in a random fashion earlier today, will be Brian McManus, then Gary Petershagen, and finally Kim Daughtry. I'll then alternate candidates in the starting position to ensure a fair sequence. Let's begin. Candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to this first question. Mr. McManus, your question is this: what are your top priorities for this office? Please explain why you are focusing on these particular priorities. 90 seconds.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for the question. Public safety, number one issue for me. I am the Civil Service Commissioner, one of them for the city of Lake Stevens, currently have been for the past 5 years. So I've been watching our staffing levels. We were way behind a couple of years back, modified some of the civil service procedures that you're allowed to do under state law to go quicker. With everybody being very competitive to both candidates in the police department, we had to move faster than we were able to under the old guidelines. So arranged a few things. It's working very well. We are very close to being what we call fully staffed for our budget, but we are woefully understaffed compared to the national averages for officers that can respond to calls. Right now, on any other given day, we have about 35 patrol officers. That excludes the chief, the deputy chief, examiners, detectives, things of those nature. So if somebody gets pulled off, right now we're operating at about 0.83 officers per 1,000 residents. I know that the city council has proposed 2 new positions for next year. But we're not keeping up with our national average for where our population is. We should be right around 50 officers available for patrol work on any given moment of the day. Second would be the sewer district resolution. I think we need to sit down at the table and fix that without lawsuits. A balanced budget is very important. That is, we are stewards of the public's money, and my federal experience shows that. Infrastructure, parks, and recreation. I think we need to do a better job of attracting and developing businesses for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Petershagen? Mr. Petershagen, I believe your microphone is muted.
Public safety is also my number one priority, and simply put, we need more police. We are a safe community now. I think we're about number 7 in the state. We've done a good job with what we have, but we simply need more boots, feet on the ground, police officers for our city of our size. As candidate McManus said, we are staffed at about 0.8 per 1,000 residents. We should be about 1.2, which would be about 50 to 55 officers. And with that, we do have a committed police force. We have some good folks on there. They are dedicated, but we are just kind of patching things together with overtime and guys that are filling extra shifts, things of that sort. The problem is we're one incident away from real tragedy. And the best way to prevent that is to have more folks more police officers on the beat. So prevention is number one. Reaction is not a good place to be in, and with that, we simply need more police officers. So we do have other priorities. Certainly like to talk about the sewer district at a later date. As stated in your opening remarks, the city council does not control sewer in the city of Lake Stevens at this point. So, thank you.
Thank you for clarifying. Mr. Daughtry.
Yeah, well, my priorities for the city are the same that they've always been: is public safety, transportation infrastructure, parks, and recreation, and economic development. As the other two have said, police department is understaffed. I don't really need to talk about that anymore. I do everything I can to ensure that we're paying our police officers as much as they need to be paid, so we can get the quality recruits to come to Lake Stevens. We're trying all kinds of different things, as is every other city in the state. We all have the same problem, which just exacerbates what's going on. And we need to find ways of getting around that. Public safety and transportation actually go together in this particular case. Transportation a lot of times has to do with sidewalks. When you're talking about walkers, you're talking about bicyclists, you're talking about kids and everything going to school. The safety is very important on that. So bringing in the sidewalks that we don't have in some of the older areas of the city is very important. Economic development always leads to more and better infrastructure. And so economic development is key. And I work with the Chamber of Commerce to help try to bring in more economic development to the city. And then parks. Hey, if you're not having a place to go and recreate in your city, there's something wrong. And we do a really good job with parks, and we're trying to do better.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Candidates will have 90 seconds for the next question, and Mr. Petershagen, you will lead off on this one. What qualifications and experience make you a good choice to address these priorities?
With the familiarity of the issues with the police department, we have had numerous discussions as to how to solve these problems. As indicated, every police department in our region nationally are having problems filling the positions. The vilification of our police department on a regional and national basis has caused a lot of the problems that we're facing today. And to try to get back to that point of respect for our police officers is very challenging. Talking with the police officers, they've expressed what they need. We are compensating our police officers as best we can. We would like to do more, but to get those new recruits into the system is very difficult, and we're all vying against other agencies to do that. There's a huge competition out there. Snohomish County sheriffs are anywhere from 40 to 50 officers short. We're probably 15 officers short. Marysville has a shortage. Everett has a shortage. We're all vying for the same person. So it's very competitive out there. But to get back to a point where we have respect for our police officers is very important. And that will take some time. Like I say, the vilification of our police officers has been terrible over the last few years, and we need to get back to a point where that is a respected profession.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Daughtry?
Well, let's say the qualifications experience I've had almost exactly 16 years as a council member at Lake Stevens. I actually went to council meetings for 2 years prior to that. In that time, that 18 years, I've never missed a council meeting. I'm also 12 years plus on the Community Transit Board of Directors, 12 years plus at the Puget Sound Regional Council's Transportation Policy Board, and as well as on other infrastructure and transportation committees and boards throughout the region. I think that's important because you get to see what's going on everywhere, and you can see what works some places and what isn't working in other places. On the PSRC Transportation Board, where we pick the projects that are going to get the FHWA money from the feds, it's real important to be at the table for that, so that we understand exactly where those transportation dollars are going to do the most good for the region. Now that's regionally. If you're looking at it as a city, our city is at the table to get some of those federal dollars and bring it back to the city for our infrastructure needs. So the way that I have always done it as a Lake Stevens city councilman is to get out there, get involved with the entire region and bring as much back to the city as I possibly can.
Thank you. Mr. McManus?
Thank you. You know, I don't want to hide behind the numbers on civil service. And being on the Civil Service Commission, I have a unique window, and I have already taken steps to hone down the process to get people onto our rosters and to get them through the process of the oral boards, testing, background investigation. So we've sped that up to the point where other police departments are now modeling that. I sit on the North Sound Police Foundation. I'm the chair and the president of that foundation. Our city's included in that. It's a foundation that's doing a lot of good work with the police departments. So it's not a matter of not being able to find candidates. We've got almost 35 in the back queue. If we were to hire 15 tomorrow, we wouldn't be able to do it due to the budget. You know, so the budget has to focus on public safety instead of talking about it. We actually have to add more officers. I know there's a proposal to add 2 this year, coming in 2026. I don't hold up much hope. I think we're in a hiring freeze already. I think we're over budget already. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. My background is really federal, state, and local. I've been on multiple different commissions. I work in federal government, spend most of my time in DC when I'm not home. Working on e-procurement programs for trying to streamline federal procurement. Everything federal is solved at the federal level. It solves at the state level. So I have 25, almost 30 years experience in federal politics and state and local politics. And I know we can do this. I know we can do a better job for our citizens, and I'm looking forward to getting a crack at it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Timer, please note that the candidates will have 60 seconds for this next question, and she's adjusted the clock already. Thank you. Mr. Daughtry, you'll lead off this time. The question is this: given competing and conflicting priorities, which factors will guide your finance and budgeting decisions?
The most important thing that we do as a city council is approve the budget. We're in charge of that. And it's the most important part of that is fiscal responsibility. So trying to figure out exactly where you can balance the budget to do everything that needs to be done. The other thing that's important about that is that you don't just get money from taxes or sales taxes, property taxes, things like that. You also have to look out for the grants that are available through the federal government and through the state government. That is bringing our tax dollars that we're sending out back into the city to use for what we need. I am very mindful of paying our people what they're worth. So every time we have a discussion about raising the pay of our workers, including the police department, including public works, including the parks department, including our other staff, I'm very focused on paying them what they're worth so they're not leaving after we've trained them to do the great job they're doing.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McManus?
Thank you. You know, you can't spend what you don't have. And working with the federal government, they have a budget resolution to zero every year. They have to balance the budget down. And every procurement law on the federal level and most of the state level, there are guidelines on how you can and cannot spend money, right? And the goal is to be a good steward of the public's money. You know, you have to look at your whole budget. I agree, we should pay people what they're worth, but doesn't mean we have the luxury of doing so. Sometimes you may not have that luxury to pay people what they're worth. And I think you have to look at that. And I think we need to eliminate things in the budget that aren't a priority for Lake Stevens citizens. They're tough decisions. They have to be made. I've looked recently in just the last few months, there's been a lot of trips that council has made and several other employees of the city back to DC under the guise of getting federal money, which I think someone mentioned earlier. That's not always the case. I would say that if we're sending back 10 people to DC to get something, they better all be focused on what that thing is. And I don't think we need 10 people to carry back a message of we need infrastructure and help. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Mr. Petershagen?
Yes, thank you. I think the key to this is return on investment. And we need to analyze what the biggest bang for the buck is out there, whether it be parks, transportation, other improvements to the city. We do go back to Washington, D.C., and I'll just put it simply, if you're not at the table, you're not going to eat. And we do go back to Washington, D.C. to lobby to get some of that money that we have sent back to Washington, DC to get it back to our community. Case in point, improvement in downtown. We have some federal funds that are coming, about $3 million. If we weren't at the table, we wouldn't have that ability. And so that's why we go back there for that. The amount of money that we do spend for going back there, I would agree with candidate McManus. 10 people probably don't need to go. But at the same time, if we're not at the table, we won't get that funding. So return on investment is very important as far as the analysis.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McManus, you have first say on this next question. What changes, if any, would you like to see concerning how the city of Lake Stevens is run?
Well, I'd like the city to be more transparent in their everyday dealings. You know, we get the minutes from the city meetings. The city meetings, council meetings are on YouTube. You can rewatch them. I have to do that a lot due to my travel. I don't always make it on the Tuesday evenings. Up until now, my schedule's changed a little bit, which opens me up to coming in and helping. I think you should publish the minutes of every meeting that is pertinent to citizens. So we have some, we had a retreat recently. I haven't seen anything about that or what was discussed. We've had some closed door council meetings, never published any meetings on that. And I think if a citizen takes time to come to a meeting and address something, they should get more than 2 minutes, and they should at least get the courtesy of a response. It's very sad to see somebody come in who cares in our community, says what's on their mind, and sometimes it's very valid, sometimes it's off the wall. But we should be able to respectfully talk with those people for a few minutes instead of hustling them out the room. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Peter Sagan, your thoughts?
As far as what I would like to see any changes, I guess to respond to Mr. McManus, we do have an open public process at the council. There are parameters that are set in order to run an efficient meeting. I was the one that actually said we need to record our retreat. I do believe in a public process and transparency. And I will agree that sometimes the city has taken some stances that are contrary to my beliefs as far as being open and transparent. So to start there would be a great place. But as far as efficiencies at the city, we're always looking for efficiencies to try to improve the process, whether it be permits, open dialogue, you name it. We're always open to improve things at the city.
And Mr. Daughtry.
This is a tough one for me. I look at some of the other councils in the area and see the problems that they have when they're talking with each other or what's going on behind the scenes and those kinds of things. We see that at Snohomish County Cities a lot. At our city, we don't have those problems. We have in the past several years worked really, really well together as a council and a mayor and a staff, basically focusing on what the priorities of the city are. There's a lot of talk about transparency. Nobody's really ever been able to say that, where we're not being transparent. I realize that somebody says we have closed door meetings. Yes, we do in accordance with the law. There's several things that we have to do behind closed doors that as long as we're doing it within accordance with state law, we're perfectly fine to do that. And then whatever decisions we make are made outside of that, and we come in and discuss it again and make those decisions. We work really, really well together, and I hope to continue to help.
Thank you. Mr. Peter Sagan, first say on this next question. What will you do to support a vibrant economy in Lake Stevens?
Obviously, as an individual, we can focus on spending our dollars locally and support those local businesses. Prior to about 5-6 years ago, we didn't have the opportunity in Lake Stevens to really spend our top dollars in Lake Stevens. And with the economic development that's been underway the last 4 to 6 years, we now have a Costco. We have some of the better restaurants in the area. And so it does give the folks the ability to spend their dollars locally, keep that money here rather than going outside our service area. And again, that gets back to the economic development activities that we've undertaken in the last 4 to 6 years. I've been on the council for 9 years, and the economic development process is certainly near and dear to my heart. We need to do more. But we've made great strides in the last 4 to 6 years in actually getting businesses here where we can spend our money locally.
Mr. Daughtry.
Well, we have been working on economic development for quite a while, as Councilmember Peter Sagan said. One of the things that we really need to accomplish is we have a pipeline problem, water pipeline problem with the city of Everett that we're working on to try to get some of our commercially zoned area to be able to be better built on without being able to build next to that pipeline due to whatever rules Everett wants to come up with. It's putting a blanket over what we're allowed to do over there. And we need to get that opened up. We are working with Everett to try to figure that out. The other thing is our transportation infrastructure is lacking, especially at the trestle. And with the trestle being a problem for getting to Interstate 5, that is making it to where some people don't want to come here and build their business in Lake Stevens because they need to get to I-5. The trestle blocks that.
And Mr. McManus.
It's interesting. This is an interesting topic. I'm a business owner in the city, and I disagree that we're friendly to businesses in this city. I think we could do a lot more. And when I go to council meetings, a lot of focus is on the State Growth Management Act as it relates to housing. You don't hear much talk about it as it relates to businesses. But the simple fact is, if we attracted more businesses in the area, people could stay and live and work in the community they're in. We wouldn't need the Highway 2 or the trestle or anything else, right? If people have a vibrant job in their community they can support their families with, that would be a better deal for the city of Lake Stevens and the residents of Lake Stevens. The pipeline, I own a piece of property that's on the Everett pipeline. Costco's pretty much on top of the Everett pipeline. You can run a drone down the pipeline, and there's over 200 structures on top of that. So I understand Everett being a little nervous about having anything done along their water line. It's the water line for all of us at the end of the day. But there are areas we can develop. There are things we can do. I just haven't seen that. And as a business owner, I would disagree that we're very business friendly.
Mr. Daughtry, on to another topic. What measures, if any, would you propose or support to keep housing options affordable in Lake Stevens?
Wow, housing. We have been talking about housing for eons. Affordable housing is very difficult. If you look at the definition of affordable housing, my house is not affordable to me. Making it to look at the definition of that, we are hamstrung by being able to do things based on the rules we have put in place by others like the state and the county. The best thing we can do is to come up with some method of having outside influence on getting money to the builders to do affordable housing. And that takes money to do. They have to be subsidized for that. The other thing is to quit coming up with other ways of putting fees on things. Every time we do that, it just makes affordable or makes housing go much higher and therefore not affordable.
Thank you. Mr. McManus, your thoughts on affordable housing?
Yeah, boy, that's a really difficult in a city like Lake Stevens, right? Our prices have exploded on the lake into multi-million dollars, right? We're watching old houses being torn down and replaced by McMansions. That drives up the median price of any home in the city of Lake Stevens, right? I live in a very modest, under 1,400 square foot Rambler. Don't know if I'd qualify for the mortgage today, to be quite candid, right? So it's a difficult thing, and we have to balance that somehow with the families in the city. And I think that with those median prices being inflated, I think that we have to look at some things like, maybe a property tax freeze for families who have lived in the city for 20 years or more and at retirement age, so that they don't get priced out of their homes and the city that they built for the last 20 years, not the council, not the mayor, current mayor. That's a community that built this city over the last 20, 25 years. So I think we ought to take a look at that and try to give them a break if we can. There's more to that, I'm sure. And I think that we need to make sure that we're using our permanent process to make sure that houses are built in the right fashion and not inflating value.
Thank you. Mr. Peter Sagan.
The biggest component of rising house prices is the cost of land. We have limited the supply of land due to the Growth Management Act within our UGAs. Lake Stevens in particular is fairly built out. We have roughly 200 acres 225 acres that are, quote, developable. And those properties are constrained by critical areas. So if you do not increase the availability of land, you will never address housing prices. I have talked about this endlessly at our council meetings. And obviously the state controls things through the Growth Management Act. They want to go up, not out. I get the sprawl issue, but at the same time, if you don't increase the availability of land, we will never address the housing crisis issue. Plain and simple.
And Mr. Daughtry.
I already answered that question,
So you did. It takes a village, doesn't it?
but I could answer some more if you like.
That's kind of you to offer. Thank you. Who's left? Did we all finish? We did, didn't we? All right. Thank you very much. I was reading the other questions to see if we'd have time for another one. Mr. McManus, you're first on this next one. What is a strategy which could be used to enhance collaboration in your work on the Lake Stevens City Council? And give an example of how you personally have used that strategy.
Boy, I think our current council's imbalanced by tenure, to be honest. We've got a mix of new people and a mix of old people. I think that's one of the things. Watching the meetings, I see new voices tend to be dismissed or diminished by, the longer council members that have been there longer. I think we need to push back on the majority opinion and gain constituency by providing a strong argument on tenured members who want their things their way versus what's best for the city, right? When you talk about what's best for the city, how do you determine what's best for the city? Have you asked anybody? Have you gone out and talked to folks in the city? I know Kim does a good job of that. I don't know about Gary. I haven't heard a lot of feedback from that from folks I've spoken with. But I think it's bringing parties together and gaining agreement on a path forward. That's what I've done my whole career. I've been in sales and an advisor. Currently, my position is a senior advisor for the Department of Defense and National Security for a very big company in the area. So I know how to get deals done, and I'll bring that to the table, the ability to negotiate and get things taken care of.
Thank you. Mr. Petersagen?
Yes, one thing we do that's outside of council is community involvement. And whether it be Rotary, Sherwood Community Services, the Food Bank, Kiwanis, Lake Stevens Rowing Club, North County Rowing, contact with the community members outside the council is extremely important. And I've done all that. As council president, serving 2 terms, reaching out to the fellow council members on a one-to-one basis and hearing their input. What we do try to do is balance. Yes, we do try to balance the best interests of the community. You may or may not agree with that, but we do try to take all factors into consideration. And again, part of that is circulating and being involved in community activities around the lake in our community and listening to what people have to say and taking that input back to the council for a balanced approach.
Thank you. Mr. Daughtry, I know you haven't answered this one. Take a turn.
Well, I agree with Councilman Petersagen. Getting involved in the community is something I've always been involved in. I get involved in just about everything that's going on in the city. It doesn't matter what it is. I get involved in. I put in over 200 hours into building the community garden along with a whole raft of volunteers. I am one of the people that puts on Aquafest every year. I've been doing that for 10 or 12 years. Every time Rotary, Kiwanis, or Lions goes out to do a community project, I'm out there with them. Getting involved with people and talking with them about what's going on and listening to them is the only way you're going to get it, because it seems like the only time that people come to talk to us is when they're mad. And that's just not the right thing to do. We need to find out what's going good and also what's going bad so we can fix it. I think our council does a great job of listening to people.
Thank you, sir. Timer, would you be good enough to set the clock to 1.5 minutes for this next question? We'll give them a little extra time. These gentlemen have been very efficient. And we will start with Mr. Petersagen. What additional issues or information would you like to bring to the attention of your district?
To the attention of the who?
Of the voters in your district.
The issue of the sewer district, the assumption of the sewer district has been a hot topic in our community for a number of years. Having served on the utility committee for 8 of my 9 years of service, it is a very contentious issue. I think one of the commissioners made a public statement not too long ago that this whole issue is about control. And it's like, yeah, right, it is about control. If you don't have sewer and the capacity to plan for the sewer, your land use is in flux. You don't have control of the prominent utility that needs to happen in order for land use planning. So the city has been working. We do have an agreement with the sewer district, and I would invite all of the critics out there to actually read the agreement. The interpretation of that agreement is the difficulty in bringing the two parties together. We've gone to mediation. We've had private meetings. We've had one-on-ones. Commissioner Lawrenson and myself spent a year and a half negotiating, trying to come to some common ground so that we're not spending money on attorney fees. It's a very contentious, difficult issue, and I think it needs some attention.
Appreciate it. Mr. Daughtry, additional issues?
Well, besides the sewer district, which is important and has been for several years, I think that what we need to get out to the citizens is for them to come in and tell us what they want to see in their parks and what they want to see in their where they want their sidewalks and things like that. We don't get a lot of input. We go out and ask, and we do surveys and we do things like that, but we're not getting a lot of input. Specifically right now, we have one called the PROS. It's called PROS. It's for the parks. We're trying to get everybody to tell us what they want to see in our parks. Caballero, it looks like we might maybe take over Caballero from the county. And if that's the case, where does people want to see in that park? They came out and told us what they wanted to see on the power line trail. That was good, and we're making that happen. But like everything, trying to get to the citizens to tell us where their priorities are so that we can make good decisions and make as many people happy as we can. That's the issue. And I think all cities struggle with getting people to tell us what they want. Most of them are, taking their kids to soccer, and they're trying to work, and they want to get dinner done and those kinds of things. So a lot of them don't have time to be talking to us all the time. But boy, it sure would be nice if they would come talk to us a little bit more.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McManus.
I agree with the commonality there that we need to get citizens more involved. And I would tell you that my message to them would be to hold your council and mayor accountable. They work for you. You should demand more transparency. Don't get afraid of big issues that sound scary, like the State Growth Management Act. It's not that complicated at the end of the day if you know how to read. Pretty simple. Educate yourself on as a citizen. You get back involved in the city on a day-to-day and accept the consequences. Deficits, one-way streets, lack of public safety prioritization. That's the kind of things we're getting right now. We can say whatever we want. I've spoken with the sewer commissioners. They're not that far apart on the issues. There is a gap, there's no doubt, but rather than spending upwards of $1.8 million so far in taxpayer dollars to fight the issue with something that's going to happen organically in 8 years, we'll probably be tied up in court that long before we get a decision that favors the city or the sewer commission, one way or the other. So I think there's time to get the gloves off and sit back down at the table and talk again. My fellow council candidates may not agree with that, but I will tell you, in talking with the folks over at the sewer commission, there's a deal that can be made here. They're not that far apart. And I would hate to see the city spend more money, even though they've already jumped back into a lawsuit they've already lost once. And maybe we should start questioning the city attorney on whether that's a smart decision or not for taxpayer money. I don't think that the issue is that important as far as growth goes when there's only 220 acres left. There's probably bigger fish to fry, but it seems like a waste of money to me or the taxpayers. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We have come to the final question, and this is it. Mr. Daughtry, you have first say on this last question. Please tell us something about your life experience that might surprise or intrigue voters.
I thought about this for quite a while. I spent 25 years in the Navy, nuclear training, and I think that it might be surprised that the last nuclear submarine I was on, I was the senior enlisted nuclear trained person, and my responsibility was to train the 65 other nuclear trained people and maintain that training at a very high level so that we were ready to do whatever we were required to do with that nuclear submarine. Take a lot of pride in my nuclear training and my Navy career, and I think that might surprise a few people.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McManus.
There we go. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Councilman Daughtry for his service. That's fantastic. I had always had an eye towards the military service. Unfortunately, I grew up with a 5'5" Italian Irish lady that was very much a pacifist. I had 4 brothers. She threatened to kneecap us if any of us joined the military. So I was dissuaded from that. I could have made that decision on my own. I didn't. That window passed me. I next set my sights on serving community and law enforcement. Unfortunately, and a lot of people don't know this about me, I was hit by a car as a pedestrian. I'm disabled. I've had probably 10 surgeries to try and walk again. So I'm a very resilient person. Not a lot keeps me down. I work my way through it. I fight through things. And I'll bring that same attitude to city council. We'll fight through things. We'll be friends at the end of the day, but we're going to have some very hard conversations along the way because there's only one way to do the right thing. So, based on my experience of having some major setbacks in my life and overcoming them, I see the world as a glass half full. And I think we can get anywhere we need to go. We just have to set our sights, collaborate, and move towards it with a lot of communication, and just keep the spirit of in mind that we're all trying to do what's right for the citizens of Lake Stevens, not what's right for the city, not what's right for the sewer district, not what's right for this, what's right for that. It's what's right for the citizens and the best way to spend their money wisely. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Mr. Petershagen, you have the last word.
Thank you for the opportunity today. I've talked to Councilmember Daughtry about his military service. I had a brother that was in the submarine service as well, so we compared a lot of notes. I will tell you, my life has probably not been as dramatic as a lot of folks. I try to be a good husband, a good father, and a good member of the community. And I don't have anything that's, I didn't win any championships playing golf or water skiing or playing football or anything of that sort. I sat on the bench most of my high school career and watched other people succeed. So it's, I guess kind of taking a little nod from Brian McManus, that does build a fire in you, and I've been successful in business. And I probably would attribute that to a lot of bench sitting, in the sense that I got to see other people excel, and I wanted to be a part of that. I just wasn't able to do it athletically. So, like I said, I don't have any specific moments of grandeur or anything of that sort, other than just trying to be the best person I can be for this community.
And with that, we've come to the end of the forum, and we thank these candidates for joining us this evening and for running for office. We encourage our audience to explore additional information about these and all candidates. Recordings of all League forums, those recorded for the primary and the general elections, are available on the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County website, on YouTube, and on podcast channels. You can find links at lwvsnoho.org. If you prefer written responses, vote411.org, sponsored by the League, is another good source of information. Ballots and your Snohomish County voters pamphlet will be mailed starting October 17th, and Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th. Please be a voter. Thank you to our League Candidate Forum team and the Candidate Forum Coalition. Special thanks to Dave Moon and the Sultan High School students at turkpride.tv who make this production possible. And of course, thank you all for joining us. This concludes our Candidate Forum.